Hello and welcome to Dining with Death. This episode is on our playlist Dining with the Damned, where we discuss criminals who are sentenced to die, their crimes, their executions, and their last meals. I'm Stacey Lee. Let's begin. Stephen Wayne Anderson was born July 8, 1953. His birth certificate states Utah, according to some reports, with no city given, and other reports say it states St. Louis. Though right off the bat, this is a case with a lot of conflicting information. His father was an alcoholic with a bad temper, and his mother reportedly so hated her own offspring that she told them she, quote, dreaded the days they were born. Stephen was kicked out of his home in New Mexico at the age of 14. He survived by his wits, luck, and stealing. He first went to prison in 1971 for aggravated burglary. While he was incarcerated at Utah State Prison, he murdered a fellow inmate, Robert Blundell, assaulted another inmate, and assaulted a prison guard. In November of 1979, he escaped from prison, and he was not caught until Memorial Day weekend 1980. Police in Bloomington, California got a call from people worried about their neighbor, Elizabeth Lyman, aged 81, who was a retired piano teacher. They had heard dogs barking and noticed a strange man walking around in Lyman's home. When officers arrived, they found Anderson, the 26-year-old fugitive, sitting in Lyman's kitchen, watching television and eating a bowl of noodles and drinking a glass of milk. He told them that he needed money and that Lyman's house looked empty, so he broke into it, believing the owners must be on vacation. So he's already setting himself up for, I didn't really mean for it to turn out this way, but the problem is he cut the phone lines before he went in, so it's a little hard to believe he didn't think anybody was there. He crept inside the home around midnight and came to Lyman's bedroom. She woke up and sat straight up in bed. Startled, Anderson shot wildly into the darkness. Mrs. Lyman was struck by a fatal shot under the left eye from a .45 caliber gun. Anderson then pocketed all the cash he could find, which was less than $100, turned on all the lights, opened the curtains, and cooked himself some food. He stayed for about 3 hours before the police were called by neighbors. He freely confessed to Lyman's murder and then went on to confess to 6 other unsolved murders in Utah and Las Vegas. I like to pick cases that are a little bit less known because they're interesting to me and we haven't all heard the story a million times. The problem with that is sometimes there's not a lot of information, and this is definitely one of those cases. So I'm going to give you everything that I could find, and hopefully we're somewhere in the ballpark. One of the murders occurred on February 23, 1980, and remained unsolved for 35 years. Timothy Glashian was found shot to death in Mill Creek Canyon in Utah. He had been driven about 2 miles up the canyon by Anderson and another man named Ace Fairbanks for what was apparently a marijuana transaction. Instead, Glashian's life was taken in a robbery and his body was left in the canyon. A couple collecting aluminum cans found his body the day after the murder. Cold case detective Ben Pender investigated this case years later, discovered that it was these 2 men that he believes did the murder, and there was enough evidence to agree with that. The case was closed in 2015, but at that point, both Anderson and the other killer had died. The details of the other supposed crimes of Stephen Wayne Anderson are very few and far between. It is said he worked as a hitman in Las Vegas and that he was emotionless and cold. There's a famous story told of him catching a bird in his hand and crushing it as a teenager while he laughed, and telling that story over and over as he became an adult. But his supporters claim that these stories about him being a hitmaid are made up. They say Anderson became the target of, quote, cowboy prosecutors, determined to see San Bernardino's first death penalty case in 40 years to its conclusion. When Anderson went to trial on one of these supposed Las Vegas murders, his trial attorney was so incompetent that they had to dismiss the entire case. And then later, 2 other death row inmates had cases thrown out because they too were represented by this attorney. Stephen Wayne Anderson's supporters paint a picture of him as this kind of peaceful, railroad hopping hobo. He had an IQ of 136, and he wrote poetry that was so well respected it was published. Okay. If you're going into somebody's house to rob it and you claim that you think it's empty, you probably don't cut the phone lines before you go in, and you probably don't murder people. And then you know what you for sure don't do? You don't sit down in their kitchen make yourself some dinner, pour yourself a glass of milk, and watch TV like nothing's going on. So this whole thing with his supporters saying, he's this misunderstood genius and, he didn't really mean it and all of that, BS. I'm sorry, no, not buying it. I wish I could have found more details on these other supposed murders. There just was not a lot of information available. I still wanted to showcase this case. Not only is it from the area that I am from, but it was the death of an 80-year-old woman, 81 years old to be exact. And sometimes I find those victims get overlooked. And so in doing what I do here, I want to make sure that I focus on victims that might not have received the attention that they deserve. It doesn't matter that she was 81 years old and maybe didn't have a lot of life left in her. What life she had left was hers, not his to take. On January 29th, 2002, at San Quentin Prison, Stephen Wayne Anderson was given his last meal, was strapped to a gurney, and a lethal dose of drugs was administered slightly behind schedule at 12:12 a.m. He was pronounced dead 10 minutes later. So what did this poetry writing, drifter, hobo, sometimes railroad hopping murderer order for his last meal? I'm going to show you. So what did Stephen Wayne Anderson order for his last meal? 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a pint of cottage cheese, a cup of radishes, a bowl of hominy, a slice of peach pie, and a pint of chocolate chip ice cream. I also have a glass of water because I think I'm going to need it with this, because this doesn't go together and this might be painful. Earlier when I said I wanted to cover this case for the reasons I stated, those are true, but this is part of the reason as well. I thought this was one of the strangest meals I had ever seen. I've never seen these kind of ingredients put together, and cottage cheese, if I were getting put to death, I think the last thing on my list I would want is cottage cheese. I don't hate it, and hominy is definitely not one of my favorite things. I'll eat it, but I don't love it. I just thought this was such a strange meal. Anyway, wasn't my choice, but it was his. Let's taste it. That's a grilled cheese prison sandwich. It's got a slice of American cheese and 2 pieces of Wonder Bread. They probably don't get real Wonder Bread in prison, but it almost just kind of falls apart because there's not much there. I love radishes. Do I want them in my last meal? I don't think so. They're really good though. Okay, it's gonna get worse now. I like cottage cheese. Do I like it with hominy and ice cream and pie? No. That's cottage cheese. I want some brownie points for this, because I know a lot of people that couldn't do this one alone. How do you feel about cottage cheese? Do you like cottage cheese or do you not? I know a lot of people that really don't like it. Okay, he ordered a bowl of hominy. Normally, hominy is an ingredient. You don't just normally eat it plain like this. I mean, I guess some people do. Hominy is corn that has been dried and then taken through a process with lye. There's a word for it and it starts with an N, but I can't remember what it is. And it makes the corn kind of larger than it normally would be and gives it kind of a, I don't want to say smoky taste, but it is a little bit of a smoky taste. So he ordered a bowl of hominy. Oh. No. That needs to be in something or with some butter. Maybe I wasn't raised eating that. Maybe that's why I don't like it. I could eat it. I mean, I'll eat anything. Hello. But that is definitely not one of my favorite things on earth to eat. And it needs to be in something. It's just, I don't know why he would order just a plain bowl of it. Just some like sauteed onions and peppers and some butter and regular corn. It would be really, really good, but it's very strange by itself. Okay, peach pie. Do you like peach pie? I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it. Nothing tastes good now. It's just not a very good peach pie. I'm gonna give it one more shot now that I've got the hominy taste out of my mouth. Yeah, it was better that time. It's still not a very good pie. Okay, finally, we're to the fun part. Now this I can do. I love chocolate chip ice cream. He ordered a whole pint. I just pulled about half the pint out into a bowl. I haven't had chocolate chip ice cream for a long time. It's really good. And that's really good chocolate chip ice cream too. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death as we went dining with the damned. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time on Dining with Death.